Now we know why Mark Golding was talking so much about that British passport. Everything turns on that passport. He had lots of things to say about that British passport, you recall? Because he knows that he's not qualified under Section 40 of our Constitution to be sitting in our parliament. He knows. So he was at pains to be telling us about that British passport. And when he went to pray, he must have been praying that we would not have noticed. No, we didn't. And surprisingly, Vaz himself, who was entangled in that situation in 2007, where he was a dual citizen and was found to be disqualified by the courts. So it's not just Section 40 that determines his disqualification. It is not just Section 40, as I said before, which determines Mark Golding's disqualification to be sitting in our parliament. It is the interpretation that the courts put on Section 40 that disqualifies him. He knows that he's not to be there. And that is the reason why you keep hearing him talking about that British passport. He has not traveled on it for years. He was not the one who initiated it. Remember, it was Daddy who got it for him when he was a small child. So he was not the one who initiated the citizenship of the United Kingdom, right? It was Daddy. According to him, he has not traveled on it for years. That's what he said. He said he only had it for convenience and travel. All this time, he was referring to the judgment of the court. Nobody noticed. But then again, you see, like a man who talks too much and is not on friendly terms with the truth, he went and let it slip. That same British passport that he has expires this year. But he has not traveled on it much. He was traveling on his Jamaican passport. A Jamaican passport, which he got for the first time in 2012, when he was in his 47th year. So what was he traveling on all that time? He was traveling on a British passport. And he's trying to disassociate himself from traveling on that British passport for a very good reason. And I'll be telling you about it shortly. Hello, everyone. I've started a little differently this time around. So I say again, hello, everyone. Welcome to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for stopping by and being with me as usual. To my subscribers and my regular viewers, welcome back. I so appreciate you guys. If you are here with me for the first time, welcome. Thank you for coming by. I hope all of you will enjoy this particular video, although I know for some persons, like the comrades, they'll be very unhappy, and the JP people will be very happy. But nevertheless, for those of you who are here for the first time, please subscribe. If you find that you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. Let me get a little encouraged to know that you appreciate what information I'm bringing to you. And everyone, please share. So let me get into it now. The matter of Mark Golding and his election to the parliament for the first time in 2017 is a matter that will probably be put before the court if he does not resign and take himself out of our parliament. Because under Section 40, it appears as though he's disqualified. And before I go on, I think I'd like to thank Mr. Wildman. He's the attorney at law and an eminent constitutional attorney. He wrote in today's Gleaner. Today, of course, is May 23, Labor Day. And he wrote in the Gleaner, and he said basically, he really had to come out and tell the people. It seemed as if the other constitutional attorneys were all dumbstruck, right? They all knew the truth and nobody sought to come out and tell us what the truth is. And this really, is the extent of the corruption in this country. Because that has to be corrupt. If you hear the public discourse, and you know that the man is not qualified, and you shut your mouth and allow this man to sit in our parliament when he's not qualified to do so. He's not supposed to be there. He's not supposed to be there. And it's not me saying so. It's our constitution. And the courts have interpreted the constitution. And that is what would give rise to his disqualification. In today's Gleaner's headline, today again, remember, is May 23, 2024. Wildman says that pledging allegiance is the problem in the dual citizenship debate. According to the Gleaner article, the issue of dual citizenship has been a topical issue in Jamaica for quite some time. And prominent attorney at law Hugh Wildman says the public must be aware that the Constitution of Jamaica is against the pledging of allegiance to a foreign state or power for those who want to be parliamentarians or senators. Wildman, who is an expert on the Constitution, told the Gleaner on Tuesday, and they're quoting him now, "I think it is my duty to explain to the public how sections 39 and 40 of the Jamaican Constitution are to be interpreted." End of quote. He pointed out that section 39 is the qualification section for one to be eligible to be elected to the lower house or to become a senator. You hear that? So 39 is talking about who is qualified to sit in parliament, whether as an MP or as a senator. The section stipulates that one is eligible to be elected to the House of Representatives or nominated to the Senate, which is the upper house, if one is a Commonwealth citizen and living in the country for 12 months before the election or nomination. So the qualification for sitting in the parliament, for being elected to the parliament or elected to the Senate, is that you must be a Commonwealth citizen and you must be living in Jamaica for 12 months before you are nominated to the Senate or before the election. All right? Mr. Wildman continued. He said, in short, the Jamaican Constitution does not recognize Jamaican citizenship as the basis for election or nomination to the parliament. He explained. Asked what the importance of that was, Wildman said, it meant that if you were born in any Commonwealth country and came to Jamaica and lived in the country for at least 12 months prior to the nomination to the Senate, you are eligible to be elected or nominated to Parliament because you are a Commonwealth citizen. You understand that? So if you're born in any one of them Commonwealth countries, now not for the Jamaica, but you're born in one of those Commonwealth countries, and you come to Jamaica, fancy it, and decide you want to live here, and you're in the country for 12 months, and you hear election are run, you can run and nominate if people will vote for you. That's how it works. All right? However, if you are born in Jamaica and go to another Commonwealth country and take out Canadian or British citizenship and come back to Jamaica, and you want to be elected to the lower house or nominated to the Senate, you have to renounce that Canadian or British citizenship because you would have been disqualified under Section 40 of the Constitution. So Section 39 tells you who is qualified, but it is subject to the provisions of Section 40. So this is what he's saying. All right, let's move on. Wildman went on to explain the reason being you would have pledged allegiance by your own act to a foreign state, even though that foreign state is a Commonwealth country. So he's saying when it comes to Section 40, you're not supposed to have no allegiance to no state at all, whether it be Commonwealth or no Commonwealth. That's what he's saying Section 40 means. Let's continue. He says, similarly, if you were given citizenship at birth in a Commonwealth country, and when you become an adult, you renew the passport, then if you return to Jamaica and you want to enter Parliament, you will have to give up that passport that was renewed. The difference between Commonwealth countries and the United States or any other non-Commonwealth countries is that if you are born in any of those countries, you will not be able to run for the Parliament of Jamaica unless you give up that citizenship and acquire a Commonwealth passport, such as a Jamaican passport, because Jamaica is a Commonwealth country and you must live in the country for at least 12 months. Do you understand what he's saying there? He's saying basically, what privilege you have now as a Commonwealth country, what qualifies you to sit in the Parliament is the fact that you're a Commonwealth citizen, not that you're a Jamaican citizen. I mean, anyway, it's not because you're a Jamaican citizen, but because you're a Commonwealth citizen. But if you are born, say, in the United States, you can't sit down in the Parliament, period. That's what he's saying, unless you renounce your allegiance to that state. Only persons who are born in a Commonwealth country, living in Jamaica for 12 months, will be able to be nominated and elected to the Parliament. That's what he's saying. That's the difference. He went on to say further, this is how sections 39 and 40 are to be interpreted, Wildman added. Commenting further on the issue, Wildman said, the key thing is that the Constitution is against pledging of allegiance to another sovereign state by your own act and not by your parents. And it does not matter whether the state is a Commonwealth country or not, because although it is a Commonwealth country, it is still a sovereign state which has its own constitution, he emphasized. He goes on to say, what seems to have caused the confusion, says Wildman, and I'll ask if you're not confused, is that people are of the view that if you go and pledge allegiance to a Commonwealth country and come back to Jamaica to run for Parliament, you are not disqualified. Wildman reiterates that you are disqualified because you would have pledged allegiance to a foreign power by your own act, and the Constitution of Jamaica prohibits that. The Gleaner quoted the section 39 and 40, but we're going to go straight to the Constitution, and we're going to look at what the Jamaica Constitution says at section 39 and section 40, the relevant sections. So this now is section 39 of our Constitution, and believe it or not, this part of the Constitution is deeply entrenched. I'm going to read it for you. It's deeply entrenched and it cannot be removed unless it comes to you in a referendum. And we know how you're going to vote, but it is rather strange that this section is deeply entrenched in the Constitution, but the other section, which is section 40, that Wildman said disqualifies persons from sitting in the house that are pledge allegiance, for some strange reason, that is a section that can be changed by a simple majority in the House. Can you imagine that? Anyway, let me go ahead and read. Section 39 in the left corner, it says qualification for membership of Senate and House of Representatives. Subject to the provisions of Section 40 of this Constitution, any person who at the time of his appointment or nomination for election is a Commonwealth citizen of the age of 21 years or upwards and has been ordinarily resident in Jamaica for the immediately preceding 12 months shall be qualified to be appointed as a senator or elected as a member of the House of Representatives, and no other person shall be qualified. Hear that? Nobody else more than a Commonwealth citizen can come and sit down in our parliament. That's what that says. But remember, it's subject to what Section 40, which follows, says. So let us repair to Section 40 and see what it says. So in the left-hand notes, it says disqualifications for membership of Senate and House of Representatives. So these are the disqualifying rules. So the relevant section that I'll read for you is Section 40, subsection 2, which you see that is underlined in red. And it says, no person shall be qualified to be appointed as a senator or elected as a member of the House of Representatives who, A, is by virtue of his own act under any acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience, or adherence to a foreign power or state. You hear that? If by virtue of your own act, under any acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience, or adherence to a foreign power or state, it does not say here, a non-Commonwealth foreign powers or state. It says to a foreign power or state. So as long as you have pledged allegiance to any country outside of Jamaica, you cannot sit in the parliament unless you renounce that citizenship. That's what that is saying. Now, you heard what Hugh Wildman said about his interpretation of what those two sections say. So now we're going to repair to the judgment. You recall when Darrell Vaz and Abe Dabdoob ran in West Portland in 2007, it was found later on, well, they had found out before that Darrell Vaz had U.S. citizenship, and it had to go to court. The judge ruled, it was the Chief Justice Zélia McCullough, she ruled, and Abe Dabdoob appealed to the Court of Appeal. He took the appeal. And what he wanted really was for the election not to be run over, because the Chief Justice had ordered that there should be a rerun. And Dabdoob was disputing that and said that, the people threw away the vote. Well, when he went to the Court of Appeal, that court upheld what it was that the Chief Justice said in the Supreme Court, and then they had a by-election, it would have been, I suppose, and Vaz won again. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to that judgment. I'm going to go not to the one that McCullough made, but I'm going to actually go to the Court of Appeal, where the judge summarized what it was that the Chief Justice had said was her order in the matter. So this is the case. It says here it's a Supreme Court Civil Appeal number 45 and 47 of 2008. And the appeal was heard by the Honorable Justices Panton, Smith, and Harrison. The appellant was Abraham Dabdoob, and the respondents were Darrell Vaz as the first respondent, not sure who Carlton Harris is, and then of course the Attorney General. And then of course it combined with another case, which is between Vaz and Dabdoob, where he was the appellant. So let me go ahead now and read what it was that the Court of Appeal had summarized was the judgment of the Chief Justice in the lower court. So remember now that the Court of Appeal upheld the ruling of the Chief Justice. So this is what the Court of Appeal found. Well, it says here the findings of the Chief Justice. So it's a summary that they are going to make for us. It says here in paragraph 16 of the judgment of the Court of Appeal, having heard evidence and listened to lengthy submissions, the learned Chief Justice made the following findings. there was insufficient evidence on which to base a conclusion that Mr. Vaz had satisfied the residency requirement necessary for the maintenance of his United States citizenship. That's the first point. Second point, the Jamaican Constitution clearly permits dual citizenship. Not sure where it does, but that's what the judge said, and she's a learned judge. Obviously, it was elsewhere in the Constitution which said so, that dual citizenship is allowed. But let me continue. The next point. Mr. Vaz is a dual citizen of the United States of America and Jamaica, and did not become a United States citizen by virtue of his own act, because you remember it was his mother that had applied for him to receive a passport, was what he said. She would have arranged for his citizenship. He went on to say, as a citizen of the United States of America, Mr. Vaz is entitled to obtain a United States passport. Next point, Mr. Vaz is the holder of a valid United States passport, which he has maintained, renewed, and used for travel to various countries noted in it, before and after his nomination for the 2007 general election. You see the point that Mark was making now? Oh, I have mine, but I have not traveled on it for a while. Yep, that's it. That's what he was referring to. He went and read this judgment. The next point that the judge made, so what she was doing is summarizing all of these points so that she can draw a conclusion on it. So the next point is, on several occasions, Mr. Vaz has presented himself to immigration authorities as being an American citizen, and when he did so, he understood his obligations as such. So what Mr. Vaz do? Bossy walked through the airport, hand over the passport, the American passport, and went into the citizenship line and joined, and then entered the United States as a United States citizen. That's what she's saying there. So he had no doubt in his own mind what he was. He was a United States citizen, born in Jamaica, but United States citizen. Let us go on. If Mr. Vaz had not renewed his passport, but had retained his American citizenship, there could have been no doubt that he had obtained American citizenship involuntarily, and no question of his disqualification could have arisen. Had Mr. Vaz not renewed and traveled on his United States passport, it could not have been argued that he was under any acknowledgement of allegiance to the United States of America by virtue of his own act. And the final point that the Chief Justice had made, it is not the owing of allegiance to the United States of America by virtue of being a citizen of that country that is a ground for disqualification from sitting in the House of Representatives, but rather the voluntary taking of steps to acknowledge that citizenship that causes the disqualification. You get that? She said the mere fact that he was citizen of the United States, and that make him not qualified. It is the fact that he, when he became an adult, took an action of his own free will, and by that action, he was acknowledging his allegiance to the United States. So what did the Chief Justice rule, and what is the parallel between the Vaz case and the case of Mark Golding being disqualified? The parallel is that for Darrell Vaz, he had renewed his passport. So his mother got him a passport, and he went when he became an adult and renewed the passport. And that was what determined whether or not he had acquired a passport, and by virtue of holding that American passport that he applied for, that he had acknowledged allegiance to the United States government by his own act, and him do that. That is the same position that Mark Golding is in. And recall that Chief Justice Zela Makala said that Darrell Vaz was disqualified from sitting in Parliament. If this matter goes before the court, Mark Golding's father got him a passport, just as Darrell Vaz's mother got him a passport. Mark Golding, when he became an adult, he went and applied for, or at any rate, for the renewal of his British passport. Darrell Vaz would have done the same with his American passport. Mark Golding traveled on his British passport. Darrell Vaz traveled on his American passport. The parallel is the very same. And by virtue of the fact that Vaz had traveled on the passport and he had renewed it on his own, he was disqualified from sitting in Parliament. Mark Golding, if he does not leave the Parliament, is going to find himself in the very same position where he's going to be taken to court to be tossed out. And he's not going to win. That's the reason why I'm reading this section for you. Because it's the very same thing, except they would argue that he would have pledged his allegiance to a Commonwealth country, which is Britain, while Darrell Vaz would have pledged his allegiance to the United States, which is not a Commonwealth country. But as you recall, when we read it together, Section 40 said, no person shall be qualified to be appointed as a senator or elected as a member of the House of Representatives who is by virtue of his own act under any acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience, or adherence to a foreign power or state. It did not say to a country other than a Commonwealth country. No, it says to a foreign power or state, which means all countries in the world, whether it's a Commonwealth country or it is a non-Commonwealth country. You cannot pledge allegiance to them by your own action and then come sit down in our Parliament like nothing happened. You have to renounce before you are qualified to sit in our Parliament. Mark Golding has no business there. So what have we discovered? We have discovered that Mark Golding, based on his own words, he had a British passport he got as a child. But he has a British passport today, which is going to expire this year. Mark is almost 60 years old. So we know it could not have been the same passport that his daddy got him, that he had. So he renewed his passport. He never had a Jamaican passport until 2012. So he must have been traveling up and down the place on his British passport. And according to the courts and the interpretation, he would have been the one who would have pledged allegiance to the foreign power, which is the United Kingdom, of his own accord. He did it. He did it, not daddy. And by virtue of the fact that he has pledged allegiance to the British Crown, he is not qualified to sit in our Parliament under Section 40, which disqualifies persons with allegiance to a foreign state or foreign power to sit in our Parliament. He is illegal. He ought not to be there. He knows he's not supposed to be there. He needs to resign, or somebody needs to go and bring the matter before the court and have him removed. He's a stranger to our House of Parliament. He has no business there. He knew for a long time that he was disqualified, and yet he sat there. He sat there illegally, making laws, making decisions for us. The government needs to remove him. You cannot have a leader of opposition who, according to him, lying as usual, according to him, he said that his being there is lawful and that he's a man who obeys the law. Lie. You know you're not there legally. And therefore you need to step down. Nobody shouldn't have to tell you that. And when you step down, you have to renounce before you return, because if you return without renouncing and those people vote for you, their votes are wasted. That's what the law says. So therefore, you need to take away yourself. Not another day you're supposed to be in that house. And it's only a pity that the fine is so low. And there's something else that I think should happen. People like Mark Golding and others who come sit down in our parliament, knowing that they're not qualified, keeping it all a secret, and know they're not qualified. There should be not only a heavy fine, but there should be a disqualification for them to participate in our election process for 15 years or more, 3 election cycle, as a punishment for causing the taxpayers to waste money and the electors to waste them time, and they do it because the fine is so low and there is no consequence beyond that. They must be prohibited from participating in parliamentary elections for 15 years or more, and that will teach them a lesson. Everybody will then make sure to them straight, because they know what the consequence will be if they are not. And this is what I propose should be put in. Well, that could be ordinary law. That don't have to go to the people. Right? I mean, this is a damn disgrace. This man hid from everybody. Portia didn't know, because I'm sure Portia knew him couldn't be a minister of her government. He would have to renounce. Portia is a patriot. Him fool up Dr. Peter Phillips and had the nerve to sit down with Bunting in a WhatsApp group, plotting against the People's National Party to elevate himself and his friend. And when his friend lost his seat, he had the nerve to put himself forward, telling lies that he didn't want it, and they didn't force him nothing. If you go and look at what Mark Golding was doing during that campaign, he was there walking up and down with people like him as a leader, and endorsing people and making statements about what he saw, what he expect. It's long time him a groom himself for it. They were grooming him. They realized Bunting would not have made it. And he knew that he's not qualified to be in the parliament, because he has a passport that he traveled on, and he got that passport. And this man sat in our parliament, making laws for people. And on top of that, the man went and tried to humbug our efforts to become a republic, making threats. He was making a threat and he didn't realize. Oh, we can't stop them. If they want to go ahead, we can't stop them. But you know, the law gave us powers and we are prepared to exercise it. What do you think you mean by that? That if Andrew wants to come talk to me Bakra, this man is obnoxious. This man has a sense of entitlement because he thinks that we are his slaves. Yes, in foreparents we're slave owners. Right? So we are now his slaves. Fool people. That is going to take a white man with a slave background and put him in the parliament, and him feel he's entitled. Maybe him feel the British shouldn't have given us any independence either, because then he would have been ruling the roost. And come sit down in our parliament knowing that him shouldn't be sitting there, and have the nerve to come and humbug up our desire to become a republic to the extent that the people have such a desire. Now talk to me and tell me if this is not a madman in a clean clothes. I tell you now all the time that there's something mentally wrong with that man. That man will tell lies for no reason, and tell lies about things that can be proven to be lies. And so you know there's something wrong with him. And he's sitting in our parliament, knowing that he's not qualified, lying to the comrades, telling them about how I feel it's an imposition. It's an imposition, and the poor comrades them no believe him. Every time this man lie, they believe him. Well, guess what? You can't believe him anymore. The man not supposed to be in your parliament. So guess what? He's going to have to get out, renounce, and run back in an election, which means somebody else will be appointed the leader of the opposition. What do you think is the chance of him renouncing? You think he's going to give that up? He have to come out of a parliament. He's damned out of order. And that is my opinion. And as the judge said, it's a very heated debate, and I feel very heated about it. Anyway, I hope you've got something out of this. I hope I've made my point. I hope I brought you some evidence that will satisfy you that the courts have decided that persons who have pledged allegiance to a foreign power of their own accord is not eligible to sit in our parliament. But I'm going to give Mark Golding a little last lick. I want you to send this to Mark Golding. Let him hear it. Because this was also a case that they were quoting. And I hope he listens. It's at paragraph 74 of the Court of Appeal decision. It says, the decision of the House of Lords in Joyce versus DPP, Supra, is instructive. The facts as gleaned from the head note in part are as follows. In 1933, the appellant, an American citizen who had resided in British territory for about 24 years, applied for and obtained a British passport. You hear what him was? American citizen, you know. But him live in a British territory for 24 years. And having a sense of entitlement like Mark Golding, him went and applied for and obtained a British passport, describing himself as a British subject by birth and stating that he required the passport, for the purpose of holiday touring in Belgium, France, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, and Austria. On its expiration, he obtained renewals on September 24, 1938, and on August 24, 1939, each for a period of 1 year, again describing himself as a British subject. After the outbreak of war between Britain and Germany, and before the expiration of the validity of the renewed passport, that's the one in getting in 1939, he was proved to have been employed by the German radio company and to have delivered from enemy territory broadcast talks in English hostile to Great Britain. The passport was not found in his possession when he was arrested. He was convicted of high treason. You hear that, Mark? He was convicted of high treason. They never find the passport in possession, you know. So by going on a radio station while Britain was at war, mouthing off his mouth in English, right, with talks hostile to Britain, he was arrested and charged for high treason, and he was convicted of high treason. You hear that, Mark? So this is a danger that you find when you try to put yourself into a position that you ought not to be in by virtue of the fact that you have pledged your allegiance to the British crown. Right? Let us say for argument's sake, the people are fool enough to put you as Prime Minister. And war broke out. England got to follow America going to some battle. And you got to open your mouth as a British citizen, right? And talk about you disagree with whatever. They can come scrape you up and charge you for treason, Mark. So you will not be able to, as Prime Minister, if Britain is at war with a country, even if Jamaica is friendly with that country, you will not be able to put your foot down and tell them this can't work. However unjustified the war is, because you are not able to do it because you are subject. You are a subject of Britain. And this is the reason why you cannot remain in our parliament. In addition to the fact that you're in violation of the rule, you claim that you abide by a rule. Rubbish. You don't abide by no rule. The amount of violation of the PMP's constitution that you go on with. Not to mention the 400 groups that you use to thief the election. No, sir. You must stop telling lies, man. Well, I don't know how you're going to tell the people and say you thief election. I don't know how you're going to tell the people that you don't abide by rules. I guess you have to say so. But Mr. Goling, you're a stranger to our house, sir. You're in violation of our constitution, sir. Don't wait for anybody to tell you to go. Come out, come tell the people that you found, you read something. Make up some story, you lie. So tell another one. Cry excuse and come out and go and relinquish your citizenship of the United Kingdom and go running at the election again. Right? You don't want to relinquish. And you must have your reasons why, apart from heritage. So you being a British citizen is your heritage. You never get a Jamaican passport. No time at all. How you were living in Jamaica, I don't know. I suppose there's some special arrangement because you're not the only white English person who live in Jamaica on a social passport. British passport. Right? I guess, I don't know if they have some residency arrangement. I must find that out. But sir, you need to get out of the house. That house belongs to us, not belong to you. If your time come and gone. Right, sir? Okay. All right. So that's it for me today. Sorry you have to hear that rant. But sometimes you have to go on real bad for some people to hear and understand that their conduct is intolerable. And Mark Golding needs to understand that. So, as I said, thank you so much for joining me and to listening to this rant. Remember to share the video because we need to get this message out. That little bit of people that turn out to demonstrate and they were in the right. Yes, PNP people. Yes, comrades. They were in the right. The labor rights were right. They weren't dunces. We were dunces. We never know. And now we know the man must come out of the parliament and go straighten up himself. If he want to come back, let him come back. But until such time, him just get out and stay out. All right, so share the message. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And until next time, take good care of yourself. Walk good.